Hello,
Hello.
and this is Finish Big.
I always like to finish big, especially for this.
I'm Mark,
And I'm Joe.
and we are Big Finish fans.
Well, Mark, why don't you explain to everybody your relationship with Big Finish? And I'll do the same.
I came into it through Doctor Who, through the Doctor Who audios. I got the very first one, Sirens of Time. I remember that very well.
It's
And
ghastly. That's
we're
episode
not,
2, everybody. That's episode 2. All right.
yeah, I was going to say, we're not doing that yet. Don't start it off with it's ghastly. We'll ease into that.
Excuse me. I feel as if a disclaimer needs to be put in right here, right now, before you even talk about what you think about Big Finish, is that you and I are honest on this thing. All right. Because there's a lot of Big Finish review websites out there right now getting freebies from Big Finish. Oh no, I'm talking. Jesus Christ.
Okay, right. Before everyone switches off straight away, let me just explain the concept of this video first.
Go for it.
So, what was I saying? Yes. So I got the very first audio Sirens of Time, and just sort of carried on getting them throughout, over 20 years now. And it filled that gap when Doctor Who wasn't on. It was a major thing, and Big Finish feels as legit to me as TV series now.
Really? What you'd say, like in like the medium of Doctor Who, Big Finish and the TV series are on par.
I know some fans don't have anything to do with Big Finish and aren't interested in audio or anything like that, and just watch the TV series. But I don't. It's such a big thing for me because it's always been there. It's always been there nearly as long as I've been a fan of Doctor Who. So it's just part of the whole world.
I can still remember when those first cassettes came out, right? And I was so excited to get new Doctor Who because bear in mind, I came into Doctor Who in 1989. So in the final season, and I was riveted by it and couldn't wait for the next series. And then Doctor Who in the 90s hit and we had nothing at all. So I kind of gobbled up the new adventures. Oh, I didn't like them at all. And also like VHSs were coming out at the same time. But I remember when these came out, these felt like legit new Doctor Who, featuring the classic Doctors, the classic companions, kind of names that I knew as well. Nick Briggs, Gary Russell, doing the behind the scenes of it all. And I was so thrilled that I used to travel from where I lived in Crawley all the way into London, which is like now is like a 40-minute train journey. But when you're like 15, it feels like a long way just to go to Forbidden Planet to pick up the latest Big Finish.
Oh, we're a dedicated fan.
Well, you wouldn't catch me doing it now.
You're right. It did feel like, well, because there was no new series. There was no hint of it. We'd had the TV movie that had been and gone. And yeah, we had the novels. But this was sort of the only new Doctor Who. And it felt legit because it was licensed by the BBC. It wasn't your BBV audio adventures with the Professor and whoever, and all of that.
You and me have said many, many times they were keeping the flame alive.
But they were, yeah. But this just felt like the next. This was like, oh, this is actually proper. It's got Doctor Who, the logo on the front, and then and Big Finish.
Let's chat about those videos featuring Colin Baker getting his clothes off and having sex with Nicola Bryant. The better.
Let's not go there. Audio is much better for that kind of thing.
But also as well, I think like Big Finish's greatest gift to Doctor Who, and we're here to celebrate Big Finish, aren't we? We're not here to condemn it. Even I think you've always had a good relationship with Big Finish, and I've kind of gone up and down with them. But overall,
I've gone up and down a little bit with it.
Their greatest gift is that they have taken characters that were ill-serviced on the TV series and given them a massive lease of life. So characters like Mel, like Perry, the Sixth Doctor, the Eighth Doctor, they have had an entire life outside of the television series on Big Finish. And it's really kind of explored the potential of those characters.
The idea of this is that we are going through all of the Big Finish releases in pretty much release order. So
every single one, guys, we're here for everyone.
And not just the Doctor Who's. So we are starting right at the beginning with today's video with the Bernice Summerfield range, which was...
I love Bernice Summerfield so much.
These were released before the Doctor Who's. I didn't get these on release time because I didn't really know Bernice, the character. I knew she was a character from the novels. I don't think I got into her until a bit later on. But you obviously would have known her from the novels if you read all the New Adventures.
I did, yes, I did. And I really liked Bernice as well because I loathed New Ace with a passion bordering on insanity. Did you ever read any of her books?
I've read a few.
It was basically my sister from my teenage years transplanted into the New Adventures, angry, angst-ridden, violent, just really horrible to be around. And then Bernice was there being wisecracking and funny and embracing life and having lots of sex and, and doing all these. Yeah, she was such a great character. And pairing up that character with Lisa Bauman was a stroke of genius.
So did you get these releases on when they first came out, or did you go back to them? So when they announced Bernice, the audios...
I know it isn't on cassette. I remember that. I definitely had it on cassette. I can't remember about the others. But I certainly got them because when I started my blog, Doco Home Reviews, and that was absolutely the purpose of that was to review Big Finish. It was no other. It's kind of sprawled out now and done the TV series and all sorts other TV shows. And I did all of the ones we're talking about today, and obviously it's going to be a part of this as well, my old blog. So I definitely bought them all at some point.
Right. Okay. So, well, let's get started then. Let's start this journey.
Ready? Take my hand, Mark. Take my hand. Right, off we go.
Right. Okay. So the stories we're going to be talking about today are Oh No It Isn't.
Hold on to me, Dick.
Beyond the Sun.
He wouldn't ask if he didn't know, Dick for brains.
Walking to Babylon.
I spoke to Miss Summerfield and there wasn't an explosion. I won't make the obvious joke there.
Birthright.
Yeah, I don't have a quote for that one.
Just War. And Buried Treasures, the subscriber bonus, which features Making Myths and Closure. All right, there we go. So that's our first batch that we're going to be talking about.
When are you going to start putting it together?
Well, I've got to finish recording it right now. I can't believe in the middle of recording the video. When are you going to put this together?
Oh
my God.
I just want to know. Please continue with your facts.
Right. Okay, so let's start with the first release, Oh No It Isn't. This audio was released in September 1998, and it was based on the 1997 novel by Paul Cornell.
It started the Virgin New Adventures Bernice range, didn't it?
Which launched the solo Bernice book range from Virgin Publishing. And it stars Lisa Bauman as Bernice, and this one guest stars Nicholas Courtney as Wolsey the cat.
The only time Wolsey the cat has had a voice.
And it was adapted for audio by Jacqueline Rayner, directed by Nicholas Briggs, with music by Alastair Locke.
I would like to say that Lisa Bauman is one of the best actresses that Big Finish has. Nicholas Briggs is absolutely, potentially the best director that Big Finish has now on staff. He's had so much experience, and as a director that can make an audio like an immersive experience, I think he's the best that they have. Who wrote this again? Jacqueline Rayner, who went on to do like Doctor Who and the Pirates. Some of that, the Marion Conspiracy, just some of the best Bernice and there's some good pedigree in this story.
Yeah, they're really great. I love Jacqueline Rayner. Anything with her name on, I'm there.
You know what it is? Do you know what it is? I think she makes Doctor Who and Bernice really fun.
That's it. It's the fun, because the novels that I've read of hers as well, they're the fun ones. But the prose is always really easy to read, and the dialogue that she adapts here is just easy to follow. I think there's something about her work.
It's always very entertaining, Jack Rayner stuff.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. So, Oh No It Isn't then. It's quite an unusual concept to launch this.
No, it isn't.
Theory. Well, I think you'll find it is. I'm not going to go.
I don't think that's how it goes, I think you'll.
I was trying to be cool.
Don't waste your time.
But you have a long pre-title sequence. So if you don't know anything about Bernice, you know she's an archaeologist from the future. She's working on this dig. She's got students. She works for a university.
She's hot for one of her students, Duran.
But then that shows the character of Bernice, because she's always sort of drinking and going out and, you know, that kind of thing.
She's a good time girl. Well, the thing is that actually what it is so underneath she's a professional, isn't she? And she always gets it done and she always does the right thing. But she's kind of flawed because she likes going out. She likes getting pissed. She enjoys having, underage sex with her students and things like that.
Underage sex? I don't think you should say that.
Excuse me. I think we will return to this several times throughout this particular episode. But there are some unusual casting choices, because Duran in this and Emil in Beyond the Sun both sound to me like they're about 12 years old.
Okay, can we not? Yeah, but she's not having sex with them. Can we just... So this would still have that sort of same appeal to Doctor Who fans, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's got that added extra humour, which I really like in her character. The whole story of this one, it is a bit of a strange concept, that sort of panto world that we're thrown into.
It is, but I'll tell you what, I think it works way better on audio than it did as a novel. As a novel, this was a bit strange. And in fact, if you read the Bernice Summerfield Inside storybook, Simon Gurrier's ridiculously detailed book, it's absolutely riveting to read. She basically, Paul Cornell gave this to Jack Rayner. He's the one who suggested Jack Rayner did this. And she took out whole swathes of the book in order to make this work. And I think she emphasised far more on the panto elements than on there was a lot of technobabble and a lot of science in the original one that the two things kind of rubbed badly against each other. Whereas the audio is just basically a massive farce, isn't it?
Well, that's the thing. If you're coming into these audios for the first time, you pick up, oh no, it isn't. You could think this is like a comedy series. What
the hell? I imagine just going through this, and in the end you'd be like, well, what the fuck was that series about? Come on now, throw the sweeties, row the boats. It's like, what is this? Is this supposed to be aimed at kids?
I have got to get out of here. Do it!
Oh, very well. There you go. But do take the sweeties.
If you want, and then I'm going to find the exit and I'm going to go home. So, music, maestro, please! Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream.
It's a brave start, and they're very clever with Big Finish, so they know it's going to appeal to Doctor Who fans. So a lot of these releases have a Doctor Who name attached to get the fans in. I mean, that's what they did with the BBV stuff, and Colin Baker taking his clothes off and stuff to get the Doctor Who fans in, So on the video,
I wanted to see that.
It's the same idea, isn't it? But you've got Nicholas Courtney.
They used to do those DWM. What's on your wish list? I never wrote number one, Colin Baker naked in a BBV video. All right.
Well, they did those Ace ones with their top off with the towel around her, for the special cover. Anyway. But they've got Nicholas Courtney for this one.
He's so good in this, I think.
He is. I mean, obviously his voice is so recognisable, but it doesn't matter. It's not. He is Wolsey the cat in this. There is no Brigadier.
Don't you love it when he gives a speech and then he just goes, meow. He's so funny. The bit where he does the tap dancing is one of the funniest moments in all of Big Finish.
I have come to an important conclusion.
What?
That the only thing left for me to do is dance.
All these years I've lived with that cat and I never knew he could tap dance.
But that clip that you just heard there, that is a really good indication of like the confidence of this story, because that could have fallen on its face terribly, but it's so funny.
And you've also got to remember they're starting out Big Finish. The production is pretty good considering that it's a bit of a pilot, really, isn't it?
I have a quote from Lisa Bauman about exactly what you're talking about here, because apparently, right, where they recorded this, they did the auditions in someone's living room, apparently with like a microphone strapped to an uplighter. Like, and she was just like, oh God, what is this? But for the recording of Oh No It Isn't, they went to a rehearsal rooms somewhere near Elephant and Castle. Maybe me can go and find that rehearsal rooms. And Lisa Bauman literally is quoted as saying it was full of like tramps and hippies, and there were like cats and stuff, and it was this really run down space. And she's like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, what is this? And they recorded it, and they were all around one microphone recording this bloody thing. And she's just like, well, that's it. My career's gone for a burn. That's the end of that. And then she heard it after Alistair Locke had put all the sound effects on it. And I think the end result speaks for itself. It's more polished than some Big Finishes later on that have had 2 days worth of recording and far more money thrown at them, I think.
I suppose they had a lot riding on this Big Finish. It had to work.
They said in the book, I think they were roughly budgeted as being around about 10 grand per audio.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a lot. You think that's a lot, don't you?
Well, I would give Lisa Bauman most of that, because she is amazing, and she is and still is the first lady of Big Finish. The queen of Big Finish is Lisa Bauman.
Have you met? I was about to say, have you met Lisa Bauman? I can see a picture of behind you.
She's great, isn't she? She knows all her stuff. When I saw her, I was like, because she directs a lot now, and because she's been there since the beginning, she knows how it all works, and she's obviously developed her craft. Because when I met her, I was like, oh, have you directed? I asked her about Survivors or something, because I thought she'd done one of those, and it's probably the only ranges she hasn't done. She's like, no, but I've done this, I've done the Compelling Chronicles, I've directed this, I've written this, I've done this, and she just in front of me just listed all the things she's worked on for Big Finish. And I was like, wow.
As well as appearing in the TV show, as well as playing Bernice Summerfield all this time, as well as directing all these stories, she is just a genuinely charming woman as well. Like, I've met her 3 times now, and every single time I've met her, she gave me a lot of time. She was really, really charming. Like, I've known contributors to Doctor Who that have done far less with greater egos, behaving appallingly at these things, like she's just a really nice person as well.
When she's obviously she was in Survival as as what's her name, the cheetah person in Survival. So even her as Bernice was a bit of a, I don't know, to get Doctor Who fans in a way, possibly.
Yeah.
I always get upset though when she's at events and stuff and she's listed as the cheetah person. I'm like, no, she's Bernice fucking Summerfield. She doesn't even need to reference you as a cheetah person. That is long in her past. She is Bernice Summerfield. Bill her as Bernice, not as a cheetah person. I get really angry.
Okay, you're getting angry here, but I think there is an important distinction to be made here, and that is that the whole Bernice line, it is very niche, and they say lots of times in this book, it doesn't sell as well. Like the Bernice stories from the 7th Doctor line sold the least well. And it's not because she's unpopular. It's just because she's not as popular as Doctor Who. And who the hell has got a chance against a Doctor Who range,
It baffles me as well that Bernice's popularity, I mean, in the book, she was already popular before they started making these audios.
Yeah.
She was for the fans that were into that. Why didn't they ever in the 90s make a spin-off video with Lisa Bauman as Bernice?
Oh, they did.
Bloody Sophie Aldred and the Suntarans and all of that. Why couldn't they have done a video like that?
They did that thing on that cruise. Did you not see about that?
Oh, yeah, that was that was
the pyramid.
But they did like Mind Game and stuff like that. In a room with that. But if you had Lisa Bauman as Bernice on film, acting as that will blow. I mean, I know you're harsh about Sophie Aldred and Caroline Ford. You just need Lisa Bauman there. That would be amazing, like a little mini series or a YouTube series.
I think the sad
of
truth is,
it.
I think Lisa Bauman is a better actress than 90% of the actresses that we had as Doctor Who companions. And it is really sad that we didn't have more of her on TV.
And it's a shame that the Bernice character sort of maybe has been overshadowed a little bit by River Song coming along as the same type of archaeological space wisecracking character. But I would take Bernice over River Song any day.
A million, any bloody day of the week. I'll take anyone over River Song, but I'd especially take Bernice.
I know. It's a shame because you got all those River Song box sets and the Bernice range. It's still going along, but it's not as prominent as it was. Oh my God, we're only on. I need to get us back on track. We're only on where it is right now.
There is somebody I would like to mention as well, because I've spoken fairly disparagingly about this person in the past. But actually, reading this Bernice Summerfield book, I have got. Because I loved the Bernice range from beginning to end in Big Finish, or not end, it's still going. And we've got Gary Russell to thank for this series because they wanted to can this series several times. And Gary Russell, who was right there at the beginning of Big Finish and essentially, directed the hell out of those first 100. He made a lot of Big Finish the success that it is. And he pioneered this range and he wouldn't let it drop. Like every time Jason Hayter was like, right, we're going to can this, he was like, no. He knew that I would literally have such a massive paddy about this. And so they just kept it going. And they used when it wasn't selling so well, he kind of rejigged it. And they used the Bernice line as a way of trying new directors, new writers. So you had all of this fresh talent coming in. And basically experimenting within this range, and just wonderful things happened. So it started off being these, homages or rewritten new adventures. Then they went into kind of single discs and original stories. But then they just built the Braxitel collection, this huge ensemble cast of characters, and they did that for a load of years. Then she went off, didn't she, with Peter for a bit, and they did that, and then they went off into weird alternative Greek territory, which neither one of us likes very much, but they were still trying new things. Now she's gone off to an alternative universe, and they're still doing new stuff with that. I think, and Gary Russell is absolutely the person that has been waving the flag for Bernice all along. And when you think about the body of work for Bernice, how much is there? Because there is an entire... How many stories are there now? There must be...
with all the books as well.
70, 80 stories, something like that. There's a massive body of work. And he's to thank for that. So anyway, get us back on track, but I just wanted to thank Gary Russell.
Oh, so you have the Grail in this first story, and they come up again and again.
The glory of the Grail.
So were they first created in the book, weren't they?
Yes.
This is their first appearance.
Yes,
and... how do you imagine the Grail to be like? Because they've got this sort of electronic voice. They describe squids.
Yeah.
There is but I never see squids in my head.
Okay.
Do you know what I imagine?
Go on.
Grail always look like to me, and they've turned up in some other Big Finish stories as well. They always look like the Smash robots to me from that advert. Because that's how they sound. Like the metal, because they don't sound like squids on audio at all to me. Which I don't know what the decision was there.
Adrian Salmon draws them in one of the covers. They look a bit like the Ood. They've got
they're a bit Ood. Yeah, they're that. Yeah. But I still don't see that. They are the Smash robots for me in my head. The Grail will always be that.
Of course,
because I've just gone by what
your reading on Doctor Who and Bernice is completely unique.
So that's what I see. And you've got, in terms of the cast in this, the supporting cast, we've got some familiar names. So, Nick Briggs turns up as, who's he in this?
Oh, he's Prince Charming, isn't he?
Is it? Yes, yeah.
And of course, Joe Castleton, our favourite from all 3.
So, if anyone hasn't heard of Joe Castleton, where the hell have you been? She is the lovely Natasha Alexandra in the spin-off Auton straight-to-video series, Auton 2 and 3 she's in.
I'm a massive fan of hers. Hold on to your hat, because she appears several times during Big Finish's run.
she plays one of the students and Bitchy in this, because then the students, when they go into the panto world, they sort of get turned into the Seven Dwarfs, basically. She auditioned for the role of Bernice as well, apparently, so we could have had a completely different universe.
And Dr. Sal from...
And Dr. Sal from Auton, the whole Auton lot. They finished filming Auton and then they went round to all audition for Bernice, basically. So we could have had a completely different world there. Jo Castleton, she's in that Zygon as well. I've not seen that yet, but she's the starring lady of Zygon. I'm sure many fans might.
I mean, we're not going to be too mean about Castleton because...
No, I'm not. I love her. I just love her because it's so funny. And I accidentally called her Jo Castellan once, when now I always think of her as the Castellan from the Five Doctors.
That's where we went off on some quite a fantasy about her being the Castellan for a little while.
Jo Castellan, we'll call her. And you've got the Vizier. Who plays the Vizier?
Oh, that's Mark Gatiss. Oh, my God. Alashay, Peshwari Nan. Are you summoning a demon? No, you fool. I'm ordering a Gary.
So he is doing his full Kenneth Williams impression.
It's
100%. The Stop Messing About is directly from Kenneth Williams in Hancock's Half Hour.
Can you do it the right way, please? Stop messing about.
So that first disc is always a bit more entertaining for me because it sets everything up. You have that panto land and you don't, you have no idea what's going on. You've got Wolsey the cat dancing around and stuff. The plot is fairly basic, but it doesn't really matter because it's so much fun. All these ridiculous things happening.
Because you asked me to write a good thing and a bad thing.
Yeah.
Story, right? So I did that. I did exactly as I was told. My bad thing was I'm not actually too sure about the scenario or the danger that they're in. So as far as I can tell, there's some missiles heading towards a spaceship, right?
Okay, hold on. We'll just say spoilers for anybody that hasn't heard it yet. Right, and then let's try and work out the plot.
Okay, so there's some missiles heading towards a spaceship, and she's just uploaded information about Panto onto her computer.
Yeah, she's reading an essay that someone's written on 20th century Panto on her spaceship.
And the missile hits, and then she's in a Panto. And I was like, what?
So apparently, there's this race called the Perfectons, okay, who are on this planet that Bernice was investigating. This that long had died out apparently. But what I think they had done, because I'm not 100% clear on this, what I think they had done is uploaded their whole civilization and their consciousness to these missiles, right? But it took the form of it's in sort of like some computer program. So the Perfecton computer program got mixed up with Bernice's essay on Panto and created this world of, it all got sort of corrupted and created this whole world of Panto, and that's what she's got all caught up in. The Perfectons are like the audience in the Panto. I found it very difficult to sort of visualize that second part when she's working that out, because he's like, oh, I'm talking to the audience and stuff, and she's like, well, I can't see anyone there.
I love that scene because basically they're talking directly to us, and I thought that was like breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah, it got a little bit confusing because then she speaks to this Perfecton voice, which is like a sort of voice of God, which sounds exactly like Rassilon in the Five Doctors to me. This is the voice of Rassilon.
You know what, right? No, this isn't an insult to you, okay? So please let me just say that before I go into this. But you telling me what this story is about has not enhanced my enjoyment anymore at all.
No.
In fact, it made me enjoy it a little bit less because that sounds really boring.
Exactly. It doesn't matter. You're just enjoying all these ridiculous things. The birds doing the washing up or whatever, and the weasel and the...
Oh, my God.
Stuff.
Play the clip of the birds doing the washing up.
What the? Harmonising bluebirds. I'm definitely on drugs. Hey, you can't come in. Put those down. Birds don't need teacups. Oh, you're washing them up for me. Of course, makes perfect sense. Oh, and you brought your mice friends to help.
And you're enjoying Wolsey tap dancing and all that stuff. And the explanation in beginning of disc 2, well, the Grell have got caught up in this as well because they were nearby, so they're in this world. So you've got the Grell not really doing very much, just being an extra thing.
Remember what Dame Gandhi said about the Grell? I haven't seen anything that disturbing since I went round the back of the fishmongers and took a look at his buttered place. This story is custom built for me, isn't it? Because it's full of
you have to say every single line is just something you would just normally say. So
you have one line, right, where he goes, the more people I've got around my balls, the better. I was like, it's literally me. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I'm getting warm.
But the plot doesn't matter, and they try and sort of work out the plot, and that's why I got a little bit lost towards the end of it, only because I wasn't really bothered about what was happening.
Because, do you know what it is? It's because they stop having fun, and they've got to try and tie it up and make it make sense. Yeah. And do you know what? It's one of those stories a bit like the mine robber. The second you've got to finish it, how does the mine robber end? They press a load of buttons and the brain explodes and it's really boring. But up until then, the journey's been so much fun, and this is the same.
Yeah, you always know that there's going to be a reset button for this type of story.
Can I tell you my good things?
Yeah, go on.
I said it has funny characters, it's witty, imaginative, and it's a very entertaining way to start the series.
So my good point is, my favourite point, Wolsey tap dancing and the humour. Yeah.
Oh my God, if you literally just put Wolsey tap dancing as the one thing you liked about this story.
and the humour, yeah. And the humour, yeah.
I just want to put one more amazing piece of trivia, because this is what I bring to this, all right? And that is, there was a fantastic marketing blunder. Did you hear about this?
Oh.
Yeah. So they accidentally misquoted SFX magazine, saying what they actually said in SFX magazine was, "Is this a great way to start the series?" i.e. the Panto story. And what they extracted from that was, "What a great way to start the series." And they actually put the quote on the back of the cassette. They put the quote, and then SFX called them out on it and were like, no, we never said that. We said, "Is it a great way to start the series?" And Gary Russell, in a wonderful moment of absolute honesty, was like, "Look, I'm not above misquoting SFX magazine to get more sales, but for once, this was a genuine blunder."
Well, do you know what? I think it is a great way to start the series. It's a brave way to start the series.
So much fun. Yeah. It's so much fun. I of all the stories that we're going to talk about today, this is the one I would recommend to somebody that's just going to listen to just one, because this is probably the best time that you're going to have of all of these stories.
Oh, and it sets the tone of Bernice, because you've got the humour, but you do have the sciencey space adventure elements in there as well. So it's got a bit of everything. But I think it's the humour that I really like, and that's what attracts me to the Bernice series. Is that because sometimes you get these sci-fi series, there's other spin-off series, and it's all very serious and spacey. And
you've listened to Dalek Empire, have you?
I mean, okay, that's a bit of an exception, but yeah, that type of thing where it's all there's no humour, there's no lightness, it's all, this is the future, it's grim and hard, proper science fiction. And that's not what I really want. I want something fun that's going to make me laugh and have a fun adventure. And Bernice getting drunk and whatever is fun.
It's like Doctor Who, isn't it? Is that Doctor Who is science fiction, but it's got a massive element of comedy and humour to it. And I think that's what's kind of bridges that gap between being mainstream science fiction and something that anyone can watch.
Yeah. That's why I like Doctor Who, and that's why I would compare it not like Star Trek as much, because I think that Star Trek takes itself too seriously. Sometimes, okay, I've not watched it, or I'm not an expert like you or anything, but that's how I would roughly compare. I like Doctor Who because it's got that sense of humour and that self-awareness, whereas Star Trek is, oh, you know these people, Data? You know, it's just very serious. And
what fucking Star Trek have you watched, for God's sake?
No, there's that comic. Have you seen that comic relief clip from Next Generation?
Oh.
With Whoopi Goldberg, and she goes, "You know these people, Data?" And Worf is like, "Who is this Hoopai?" Have you not seen that?
Do you know those people, Data?
Yes, these three humans were the hosts of Comic Relief. Billy Crystal, Robin Williams, and Hoopai Goldberg. Hoopai.
Okay, I'll show you that clip. But that sums up Star Trek.
I can tell you this: is there's not a single fucking episode of Star Trek that has that line in it at all. So what you're basically saying is Bernice Summerfield is not that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go on to the release number 2, shall we? Beyond the Sun. Okay. So
do we have to talk about Beyond the Sun?
Come on, then. Yeah.
Okay.
based on the novel by Matt Jones from 1997, which was the third in the solo Bernice novel series. This one guest stars Annika Wills and Sophie Eldred from TV's Doctor Who, and introduces Stephen Fewell as Jason Kane, directed by Gary Russell, with music by Harvey Summers. Yes, so you're not keen on this one then? Let's just start that off, shall we? Do you want to have a rant now, or
it was a fucking chore to listen to? I'm telling you now, and I'll tell you what it is. There's several reasons why. Let's start off positively. I put that Lisa Bauman gamely tries to hold this whole thing together, and boy, does she! Like, she is fantastically good in this.
Okay, so had you read the book of this one?
No.
You don't do. Okay, so you're not coming from the books side of things.
No,
right, okay.
So this is my first experience of this, and I remember really not liking this at the time as well. My bad, and this is a big problem in an audio, is that pretty much every other performance is appalling. The storytelling is very confusing, and there are far too many diary entries, and this weird intrusion of the theme music every 10 minutes. Which I have no idea why they did that.
We have the usual sort of setup for a Bernice. She's on an expedition with some students. Mm-hmm. And we have Jason, who is Bernice's ex-husband, who was also in a lot of the Doctor Who New Adventures. So you knew that character.
I don't think they knew what they were doing with Jason at this point. And
also, Jason, I think, is in the book.
They admit that in interviews at the time, that he was kind of being included because they wanted like a cohesive run of stories with characters that you kept coming back to. But I think Stephen Fewell, Gary Russell, they basically said until Dave Stone got involved, they didn't really get it right. Well, apart from Just War, which I think uses him really, really well, he's basically just a bit of a rogue, isn't he?
But I really love Jason. He's probably one of my favourite characters.
You fancy him? I think that's
okay. So okay, hold on. Okay, so he's in these new adventures. He gets married in the 100th new adventure, Happy Endings, to Bernice. There's a big wedding book, isn't there? But he comes back. Okay, I don't know why. Oh my god, I don't know. He sounds fit. On audio.
I don't get that at all.
I could just listen to him.
He sounds like an upper class toff pretending to be a bad boy.
I don't know. I love it. I mean, he's the best thing in this for me, and he's not even in it that much. But no, a big part of it.
Oh, come on, Benny. He's like doing that all the time.
Anyway, I really like Jason. There we go. I think he's a great character. But he's brought in to sort of set up the story in this. And I did find, because I've not read the book, it did feel like it did cut. You've got the setup, and then Jason turns up, and then, suddenly Jason's kidnapped. It seems like there's a whole couple of chapters just missing from this. And it jumps to the story quite a lot. And I think that's why they've got the musical interludes in there.
Because the diary extracts just keep moving the narrative along.
But I don't mind the diary stuff, because Bernice, even in the New Adventures that I know, she has a diary. That's her whole thing. It's Bernice and her diary, and she narrates it. And that's perfect for audio. And that's perfect. That's used a lot in all of these audios.
Could literally solve 90% of this story's problems by eliminating the rest of the cast and just having the whole bloody thing as a diary extract, and she can just read the whole thing herself. Because Lisa Bauman she is really good in this, unfortunately, but she is rubbing shoulders with some dreadful actors.
Okay, right. Let's talk about the students of this one that she's got, Tamika and Emil.
Oh my god! So we have to talk about this pair. I mean, I thought Stephen Moffat gave us some dreadful child characters, but these two.
So Emil is this student that doesn't really want to be there. They both get caught up in the adventure with Bernice in this. They're her companions essentially for this story.
Mark, how old?
Hey, how old? Well, they're students at university, so they are more than 12 years old, and this is a very 90s story, a very 90s book. There's some gay stuff in there, gay subplot in there, basically. Because around 97, 98, you've got, I don't know, when was Queer as Folk out and stuff. It was a big sort of thing around that time. So it's very, you wouldn't do this now, the stuff that they're talking about here.
You certainly wouldn't cast these people, because one of my biggest issues with this story is there's a sequence where a man who clearly sounds about 30, and he's supposed to be 19. Scott is supposed to be 19. And they've
Oh,
clearly
okay.
cast a man who sounds about 30, and they've also cast a child actor.
They haven't. It's not a child. He just sounds young.
About 17, but sounds 12.
Scott, what do you think you're doing?
What do you mean, going to bed?
What, here?
Where else would I?
Scott, well, in your own bed, of course. Don't you know what the word privacy means?
I think so. It means to disconnect from others, doesn't it? Ursulans sleep where we fall, together. Why would I sleep over there, alone and cold, when I could sleep next to you and keep warm?
Because, I just want to sleep on my own, in my own bed, and if that makes me a profiteer or bloody sunless or something, then I don't care, alright?
You can do whatever you want, Emil. If you really want to sleep alone, fine, go and sleep over there. I'm comfortable where I am. And anyway...
What?
I thought you might want to have sex with me.
Scott, are you crazy?
So you've got a man who sounds 30 and a boy who sounds 12 in a scene where they're talking about having gay sex together. And it's just so fucking weird. It's so weird. No,
Okay.
that's not the script's fault. That's the director's fault.
Okay, yeah, but Emil is supposed to be this sort of, he's not this, he is supposed to be sort of shy, not miserable, but sort of this sort of enclosed character that's not out of his shell and is a bit nervous and stuff. So I think they've tried to get a character, and he's got a distinctive voice. You need that for audio. The worst thing about audio is that everybody's voices sound the same.
No,
Yeah,
Scott, I'm having gay sex with you, Scott. No. It's very...
That's fine, because that's the character, it sums up the character, and that's what the kind of character he's supposed to be. And at least he's distinct.
With the perpetual cold. That's what he's supposed to sound.
Yeah, but that's fine. But he's supposed to be this, oh no, I don't know what I want to do.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be a bit like that.
Annoying.
But you obviously have this problem that he sounds too young and stuff. So we have drawn what we think Emil looks like. Okay, we're going to show each other now, because I have a very distinct image of what Emil looked like to me.
As do I.
First. You go first, okay. Oh my God. You've drawn basically a giant baby. Okay. He's not 12.
I'm done, Bernice. Over here, you've got
What's
one.
that?
You've got one of the sunless. I don't know why he looks like a sun, but there we go.
Oh, the sunless, yeah.
Scott salivating over him.
Okay. That is horrible. And we'll get back, because, you've drawn it based on sort of the cover of the book, because I was going to say to you, I don't know who's supposed to be on the cover of the artwork.
Tamika.
So why are they shaved head in those?
Because they shave their heads in the book. They lose their hair.
See, I missed all of that.
Well, you clearly weren't paying attention then, were you?
Okay, well, I've drawn Emil pre-sunless or whatever he's supposed to be, okay? So this is what I think he looks like.
Mark, he still looks about 12.
Yeah, I know, but...
Oh, wait, let's put them together. Yeah, well, I think we're both pretty
fairly similar. I mean, it does sum up an image, doesn't it?
Can you see the placard that my Emil is holding?
Yeah, I'm only 12. He's not only 12. Anyway.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go back to the story, shall we?
Talking about how you imagine stuff. Again, the problem I had with this is it didn't build the world of the sunless and what was going and yeah, I completely missed they shaved their heads and had to dress up.
So for me, an audio is going to work on two levels. Yeah. One is I'm either going to be drawn in because I love the characters. Yeah. And that's the same for any kind of medium, books, TV, audio. If I love the characters, I'm absolutely there to listen to it. I loved all the characters in No, It Isn't, and I had a great time. But for an audio, the second thing is like the audio landscape, the how immersive it is, how kind of effectively they plant you into that world orally. And it fell on that level as well here. Like some of the sound design, it sounded like a company that has just started making audios. And there's none of that in Oh No It Isn't. That's very polished. But here, they had a sequence where they're in like an armored car and they're shooting away, and it sounds like Star Trek style photon torpedoes that they're firing. And it's very confused. And you add in the terrible performances, you add in the sort of confusing narrative, you add in the pretty terrible dialogue.
See ya, wouldn't want to be ya.
It's a miserable experience listening to this. I didn't want to get to the end. I got to the end because we're doing this thing.
Well, yeah, the plot did not interest me at all. Some of the characters did. Okay, so Tamika, the other student, the sort of American. Okay, yeah, she had the humorous lines for me. She brought that humor to the boring sci-fi story that I wasn't interested in. So I know she annoyed you a lot, but she was at least a highlight for me in just taking me out of that. I didn't care about the sunless or who does what. Or
she's supposed to be like a Southern Californian Valley girl.
Oh my God, Bernice, what am I going to do about my hair? You know, that kind of
The dialogue gets this bad. At one point, she turned and she ran and she went, I'm so new, I'm shrink wrapped.
Well, hang on. If you're going to be a character in this, I think you would be Tamika. So
in this one, I'm sorry.
You'd be Tamika, I'd be Emil.
No, actually, do you know what? Can I just say a couple of facts that I pulled out of the Bernice book about this? So Gary Russell did not want to do this story, and Matt Jones convinced him to do it. So he basically said, "This is how we can make this work." But Jones himself then goes on to admit it didn't work because he didn't know how to do a script at the time. So he says himself that everybody talks the plot and there's no subtext to the story. So it's all just basically as read out. Annika Wills was very nervous making this, by all accounts. This was her first kind of stab at acting for a while. Gary Russell insisted that there was a limit of 5 or 6 actors and Bernice in this. So that was kind of like the standard they were going for budget-wise. And Gary Russell said brilliantly, after this, they didn't want to use the original authors to do the scripts for these because they can't edit themselves. So Matt Jones kept leaving in bits that he really loved from his book that had nothing to do with the story whatsoever. So going forward, Jack Rayner did all the adaptations.
Yeah, you can see that in the script because it's just not... Yeah, I just can't really follow it very well. Annika Wills and Sophie Aldred then are guest stars to draw in the fans. Well, I mean, they're not in it.
Why you would possibly object to Sophie Aldred's villainous performance as Miranda?
I mean, she's all right, but she's not. They're not in it as much as I thought they were going to be.
She's about 3 scenes, isn't she?
They don't make that much of an impact.
Before they came, Ursu was becoming completely unviable. I mean, it was all right while everyone lived in small communities, but as the society grew and cities developed, it was starting to fall apart. Important jobs were left undone, vital duties unattended. You can't live in a world where people just give up their jobs when they get bored. Industrialisation requires a division of labour, and a division of labour creates inequality. The old Ursu was just a romantic dream. The indulgence of a group of bored, wealthy colonists before the war.
So Miranda is sort of Jason sort of sides with her. Jason sort of is the bit of the Adric of this that always goes off with the baddie, isn't he? Basically, in all of these stories.
Pretty much.
So, and then Annika Wills, she's playing this alien doctor. I think she plays someone else with a voice earlier, with a treated voice earlier on. I'm not sure it sounded like her. Not much of an impact. No point in them being there. They could have been anybody. I'm not buying it because Annika Wills is on the front.
Well, clearly their cynical marketing ideas are not working on you, Mark, are they?
And Sophie Aldridge always, she brings her best. She does her best, but she's not needed.
But the ceiling ain't very high, is it? Let's be honest.
So obviously my bad point is the plot not being clear. And I didn't care, or I just wasn't interested in following what was happening. So,
and that is a problem, right? With an audio.
Yeah.
My last fact, sorry, I didn't quite manage to shove in there, was that Lewis Davies, who played Emil, was sick with appendicitis on the second day, so they had to rewrite all of his lines and give them to Tamika.
Oh, well, there you go. Don't be so harsh on him. He's trying to do his acting. Maybe he doesn't always sound like that. Maybe he was just ill.
Maybe that's why he had such a terrible cold.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't come back, and that actor hasn't done any other big finish since.
I mean, there is one great thing about Beyond Sun.
Yeah.
Nothing else we talk about in this video is as bad.
No. So shall we move on then to the next one? So walking to Babylon, things get a bit better here, don't they?
Yes, now you are talking. Walking
Babylon. So this was released in November 1998, based on the novel by Kate Orman, which was the 10th book in the Bernice range. There it is. Wonderful.
Look at that beautiful cover. You know, you can visit this place.
What? Where is it?
Oh, Babylon.
Is it?
Thanks.
Okay. This is the first in a linked trilogy of stories, a time ring trilogy, and this guest stars Elizabeth Sladen. Directed by Gary Russell with music by Harvey Summers. So, well, much better than Beyond the Sun.
Miles. It's Jack Rayner again, so it's very fun to listen to again. The dialogue has got like a perky, sparky kind of energy to it.
And we start off a little bit like Beyond the Sun with Bernice at the university and Jason turns up. I don't think Jason was actually in the original book. I think they might have put him in there.
No, I don't think so either. And no, that's right, because Kate Orman said, she didn't want Jason in the adaptation because the whole point of the book was the romance between Bernice Summerfield and John Lafayette.
But you need Jason in there. So the time ring element is in the Doctor Who book, Happy Endings, the Doctor gives Bernice and Jason a time ring each as a wedding present. So they've got one each. And when they put together, your TARDIS plot device basically is what it is. So Jason has, again, done his Adric and fallen in with the wrong crowd. And he's got Bernice's ring, and there's this time tunnel. I wasn't 100% sure on the plot, but basically a time tunnel goes through to Babylon. That's all you really need to know.
No, because the plot was boiled down really simply. Was basically there's this tunnel which goes back to ancient Babylon. They've got to go back there. She's got to go back there and get the people back. Otherwise, they're going to send a bomb down and destroy all of history. Very simple.
Okay, and meanwhile, there's an opening in 19th century Earth where John Lafayette gets sucked into Babylon as well. So you've got that other element.
John Lafayette gets sucked quite a lot in this story, I'm telling you.
Oh my God.
Oh, Bernice has a good time in this one.
It's quite a leisurely pace. You just get Bernice exploring Babylon and meeting John Lafayette. And Elizabeth Sladen is like this high priestess of Babylon. Again,
absolutely loves stories. She likes to hear because she's been trapped inside the priesthood for her whole life. So she invites all these travellers, and they tell her stories, and she feels like she's travelled the world.
And Elizabeth Sladen does a great job.
I think she's terrific in this. I think it needed a lot of sort of enthusiasm and energy, and she brings that in spades.
She does. It just sounds. I don't know. It's different. It's weird because like Nicholas Courtney is Wolsey for me, but Elizabeth Sladen is in this. She's not the High Priestess. She's not Sarah Jane, but she's just. I imagine just Elizabeth Sladen in a sound booth, just having a chance to act as something else, not as a character.
She was Elizabeth Sladen in a sound booth, so
no, but I don't get her as a character. All I can hear is, "Oh, that's Elizabeth Sladen getting another job. That's good." You know, I can't, it doesn't, there's not much there of the part anyway.
Well, I would like to just mildly contradict you there, because there's a sequence, roll your eyes at me, we're not always going to agree. There is a sequence in Disc 2 where Jason and Ninan talk about the slave, and Elizabeth Sladen talks about being trapped.
Miriam's only a kid, but she has to do whatever you say.
Of course, she's my slave. I treat her kindly.
But she's not free to do what she wants.
Who is? There are many things I wish to do, but I cannot. I would love to travel, but it's not possible.
Why not? You've obviously got the money.
You are talking nonsense, Mr. Kane. You could say that I, too, am a slave to the god.
You do not have to be.
You obviously come from a very different society and you do not understand mine at all.
No, I don't.
And I think you'll agree that she's very, very good in that scene.
Okay, that scene's all right. Okay.
Thank you.
That scene's all right.
I love this being able to use actual clips as proof. Do you know what's really great about this story, though, that didn't work at all in Beyond the Sun, which is interesting because they're both directed by Gary Russell, is I really felt transported back to Babylon in this. Like, I was colouring whilst I was listening to this. I was not colouring. I was there at the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. I was at a party with Nynan.
Just don't tell anyone about the future.
Of course.
Just tell them you're from a mysterious foreign land. You've heard me do it, you know the sort of thing. Be chatty, colloquial. The translator will help with that.
You're keeping something from me.
Oops, gotta go. The Lady Nynan is beckoning me. Eat, drink, and be merry, Mr. Lafayette.
Oh, Bernie, I am glad you could come. I'm so looking forward to hearing more of your tales.
The sound effects and the music were so effective, I just felt absolutely transported. That's the power of audio.
And John Lafayette, there's this romance subplot. I think it's a little bit rushed in this because
it kind of has to be.
I mean, Bernice meets John Lafayette, and then so do they kiss or have sex?
They fuck.
Okay, because I thought
he says to her afterwards, like he'd never done it before.
Right. Okay. I was trying to work out. I thought they were talking about kissing, and I wasn't sure. Okay.
No. And then, because then obviously Jason comes along, doesn't he? And there's that whole kind of jealousy thing between him and John.
Yeah, I unfortunately, it is a little bit rushed, and I didn't really buy that suddenly she's in love with John Lafayette just like that.
No, but that is a problem. That is definitely a problem with, a 2-hour story. And it's the same on TV. Every time they do these one episode, romances, how convincing can that be?
But he's played well by Barnaby Edwards.
I think it's a great performance, actually. He's very gentle and very charming and not very masculine. I really like that about him.
And I'm going to keep a little tally of our guest regulars. Barnaby Edwards has got 2 ticks next to his name so far in this series.
You have a big bit of paper for Nicholas Briggs then, because I'll tell you what, he's going to turn up quite a bit.
Oh, so you have also Stephen Wickham as the drone.
God, he's one of my favourite characters, Joseph. And it's not Joseph here, though, is it?
No, you see, it's not Joseph. So Joseph is that yellow ball smiley face thing, which is on the cover of this CD. I was trying to work out. I think in one of the new adventures, it's there. Yeah, there's a drone thing, and it's later on. I think Braxiatel gives Bernice Joseph, which is the same voice, the same type of thing, but this is owned by one of the people in this, and I think the 7th Doctor gives one to Bernice in a different story as well, which is played by In the Dark Flame or something like that. So, but you could. It sounds exactly like Joseph, and it might as well be, but it's not the Joseph that we know in this. But it's it's a great character. It's a sort of computery thing that's got a bit of sense of humour. It's got a personality, hasn't it?
It really, really does. And I think this is one of those examples of them hiring in an actor who goes above and beyond their expectations, and they're like, right, we're going to give you a regular role. This is too good to miss out on. And then they say deliberately, Trevor Baxendale in The Dark Flame is supposed to be an origin story for Joseph, but there was some lines of communication, because in that he's a butler. He's like a robot butler. And I think the idea is then Bernice takes him into the TARDIS at the end and just beats him into a bowl or something. I don't know what happens, but all I know is he's funny and he's charming and he's lovely, and Steve Wickham gives just the best performance. Do you know the bit where he goes, John Lafayette thinks he's going to die, and he gives this whole speech of like, oh, kiss the children for me, and it's all very overwrought and overdone. Then Joseph just comes along and cures him in 5 seconds, and he just goes, be gentle with him.
It's quite quickly wrapped up, I think. It leads then into the next story. So John Lafayette supposedly goes down the tunnel and gets back to his own time, and then Bernice and Jason jump through. But yeah, it's a really enjoyable adventure and definitely a highlight of this first series.
Yeah, I was saying to you as I was going through this, I wasn't sure if this or Oh No It Isn't was my favourite. That's how much I enjoyed this one. Can I very quickly just point you in the direction of the Doctor Who news page scandal that occurred?
Give us a scandal. Here we go.
You love a bit of scandal, don't you?
Love a scandal, yeah.
So essentially what happened was Gary Russell said to John Blum in an email, we're going to do Walk into Babylon. Now, John Blum had nothing to do with Walk into Babylon. It was his wife, Kate Orman. But Gary Russell, unfortunately, figured that was enough, that he would tell her, rather than saying to Kate Orman, right, this is what we're going to do. And that's what happened. Was there was and they're actually published in the book. So this ain't me, promoting scandal. This is out there for you to read. Between Kate Orman and Gary Russell, basically with her saying, you need to ask my permission to do this. You can't just do this. And somehow the Doctor Who news page people caught wind of this and wrote a news story saying that Big Finish were doing stories against the writer's will. And then Gary Russell blew up, and then Kate Orman was like, I never gave him the story. And so suddenly in the very early stages of Big Finish kind of producing, original content, there was this massive, it was their dirty laundry was being aired, because Doctor Who fans love a bit of scandal, don't they? They probably caught wind of this and were like, right, got on their keyboards and were like, right, let's write all. Anyway, it was all, and Gary Russell asked that the news storyline was republished with the facts of that they were in negotiations and blah blah blah. But there was a bit of tabloid controversy around this one.
And I guess they didn't use any of her stories again, or she hasn't written anything for them, has she?
She hasn't, and it's a shame, because I think Kate Orman is one of the few female writers for the New Adventures, and absolutely probably the best after Jack Rayner, the best writer of Bernice. Sorry, Paul Kyle. And actually, I would probably say, plot-wise, this works better as a book. The romance is more convincing as a book, because in a book, you've just got the time, to do that sort of thing more convincingly. But as an audio, I still think this is polished. This is an exceptionally good piece of work.
Cool. Let's go on to the next one then. Birthright.
Oh, A Tale of Two Halves.
Oh, God, yeah. So Birthright was released in February 1999 and adapted from the Doctor Who New Adventure novel by Nigel Robinson. This continues the Time Ring trilogy. Guest stars Colin Baker, our first Doctor to make a Big Finish appearance.
That's quite a big deal, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be Colin Baker as well. The first one on board, Colin. So Birthright, as the novel, as I understand, I got it actually, but I've never read it.
It's very good.
It's pretty much a doctorless novel. Anyway, you've got Ace, Bernice, and the Doctor. And what they've done, they've adapted. See, Bernice's bit is still there, and Ace's bit is given to Jason in this, and the Doctor's bit is taken out completely. So they've completely sort of shuffled things around. And you have a Tale of Two Halves, don't you? You've got Victorian London and the far future alien world.
Mm-hmm.
So Bernice ends up in Victorian London and Jason is in the future. And you've got that wonderful prologue starring you as Limehouse Lily. I don't know why. It just reminds me of you. I don't know why.
Because she's a total fucking whore.
No, I don't know why. Even before, because you said to me, you said, oh, I really love that prologue. Even before you told me that, I had heard it and I've just thought of you.
I could keep you warm.
Come on, mister. Ain't you got nothing to say for yourself? Frightening two innocent folk like that. Come on out where we can see you.
No, it's one of those terrific, very Doctor Who-y openings, isn't it? Of two characters that we don't really know walking a foggy street, attacked by a horrible monster. But it's just really well done, I think. Really well directed.
And it's good we've got, as we go through the series, we're not just set in the future and the 25th century or something. We can go to Victorian London in Bernice as well.
That is absolutely why this is a Tale of Two Halves, because all the stuff in Victorian London is atmospheric and it features Bernice and is really, really fun. And all the science fiction stuff, featuring Jason, poor Jason, and those horrendous Charal creatures which is
what's it? Queen Shitties or whatever her name is. Queen Shitties.
Queen Shitties.
Hold on, let me look at my notes. Shitties, they call her. Hold on.
Shitters. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, it's awful, that stuff.
It's so boring.
The world is called Anticon, I think.
Isn't it supposed to be Earth?
But then it's supposed to be Earth in the future. You find that out a bit later on. That's what I think.
We have that twist. It's Earth all along.
Yeah, that's supposed to be the sort of dramatic twist, but it's not particularly. I'd rather just spend a bit more time with Limehouse Lily.
She dies right at the beginning, though.
Yeah, I know. Bernice makes friends with Colin Baker's character. So Colin Baker is playing a Russian. Popov. And he does a great accent. It doesn't sound like Colin Baker half the time.
1 man or 1,000, I do not know. But what I do know is that the killer of my daughter and of scores of other people's daughters has left the motherland and is come to London. And if it costs my life, I intend to find him and bring him to justice.
Bernice being in Victorian London, obviously there's going to be a few humorous moments in there as well. So that you still have that lightness, even though this is a bit more of a darker, grisly setting. You still have those moments.
When she's drunk in the pub and she goes, what is it? I might forget that I'm a lady. Goodbye.
yeah, stuff like that. I like that.
Is it John Kahn? Is that his name? Who's like he basically venerates the Cheryl. But he's got like one of those low, silky smooth voices, which works really well on audio.
And Queen Shitties, I'm just going to call her that now.
Queen Shitties, yeah.
Shitties. I imagine her looking like a sort of Rachnos type thing because she sounds a little bit like that.
Oh,
and she sounds to me.
Voice just grated on my brain.
She sounds like Louise Jameson to me.
Your daughter, Isk, is too trusting. I do not think the mammal will keep his promise.
No matter. I have received word from our agents on Earth. The Great Divide will soon be stabilized.
I've already said, like, in the massive pros of audios can be that it's like an immersive audio experience. One of the massive cons of Big Finish is that they, over the years, have used some fucking irritating voice modulation to create alien voices. Oh my God, they give me a headache practically every single time.
But okay, to be fair to them, they have all these different audios they've got to do. They've got to do an alien every time. Their experiment, you've got to try different things. If it was exactly the same idea, I know some of them are terrible. I completely agree. And some of them you can't even hear what they're saying, but they've got to try and make things different.
It does get that bad at times. In some of the sort of around sort of the 30 to 50 main range Doctor Who stories where they overmodulate the voice so much that, like Necromantia and things like that, there's voices that I just can't understand a word people are saying.
Yeah, so compared to that, this isn't too bad.
It's not. There's a lot of it is the trouble. There's a lot of dialogue from that Queen Shitters.
Just stop them talking in the future. Nothing much happens. They're just chatting. And yeah, I switched off, even though it's Jason and he sounds really fit. I did switch it off. I can't help it. I'm sorry.
Also, as well, they try to introduce, like, I agree with you on this one. The second disc was weaker than the first disc. Like, it kind of gets worse as it goes along. Because I think even like the Victorian London, the novelty of it wears off after a bit.
It's a fair cop, Miss Benny.
Yeah, that's what she does in Jago Lightfoot. Yes, Mr. Jago. You know.
It did sort of run out of plot, I think, as it went on. You're waiting for it to wrap up. There's a bit of John Lafayette again, which is nice. So you get the clue.
I think that's the best scene. I think it's really well acted and really beautifully thought as well.
It tries to add that she's still not she still loves him and all. There's still something there, but that doesn't really work. But it's nice that because there's the chronocronetoscope that John Lafayette accidentally took from Babylon, and that's why she's ended up here, I think. And he's gone to Guernsey, or he's on Guernsey, or something like that.
That's right. Well, he goes to Guernsey, and then that's where she heads. The story.
Next one. My good point was that it's a Victorian setting, and my bad point was Queen Shits and the future stuff. And and the cover as well. They've used the cover from the Doctor Who novel. I do not imagine the insect people looking like. It's a great picture, but I did not imagine that. I imagined arachnoses, basically.
Can I just say one thing? Right? I don't know, rain in your parade or something, yeah. But everyone's imagination is completely unique. For them to draw precisely what's in your mind after you listen to something, well, that's quite hard to achieve.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the voice doesn't match up to the image to me.
Okay. I'd say the good here is it's generally well directed. It's got good atmospherics, great music. I really like the music in this, of course.
I see, you're a music one person. You're every little doo-doo you love.
No, not always. Not always.
Music the music has to really stand out for me to even notice it. Otherwise, it's just
Baker, that earlier clip that you played of Colin Baker talking about his mission. There's like a subtle like piano score underplaying underneath it, and it's really effective. And I think like the music in the death of old Lil at the beginning, that's really effective as well. As my last good thing, I just put Colin Baker in massive bold letters because my love for that man knows no bounds. And then for the bad, I just put the whole tedious Charrel plot. So I've got a fact from the... I don't know why they felt the need compelled to bring this up, but apparently Colin Baker is said to have getting the going rate for this story, and that he wasn't doing the work as a favour. This was a proper acting job, even though they were mates. So I think there was maybe this kind of idea at the time that Gary Russell knew these actors through the convention circuit and things like that, and that they were just coming in and doing them a favour. No, these were actual proper acting roles, and they were being paid accordingly.
Do you think the others did that? Do you think Annika Wills did it for free?
No. I think from the off, this was a professional operation. But I think
probably been working. He had to work for free, taking his clothes off for BBV. He probably was like, right, next time I'm gonna. I can't believe we keep talking about this. He's like, okay, I'll get into bed with Nicola Bryant for free, but if I've got to act on audio, it's the going rate.
Like right in front of him, and his moves are like really like hairy.
Oh God! Can we just stop? Oh my God!
And I think Nicola Bryant comes up behind him and just sort of grabs him.
Oh, please, please. Oh, my God. I'd rather go back to paedophilia. Right. I can't believe it. Right. Anyway, back to... well, that sort of rounds up Birthright then, Colin Baker's...
I'd say it's competent. It's a competent story.
It's not standout. It just doesn't...
There are moments that work really well, and it is just a bit boring come the end.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on to the third part of the Time Ring trilogy then. Just War.
Wow.
Okay, here we go. So the facts for Just War. So this was released in August 1999. We're heading towards 2000. Based on the Doctor Who novel, Just War by Lance Parkin. There's no big guest star name in this. We've got, no Doctor Who name. Hang on. Yeah, okay, so we have Mark Gatiss, Michael Wade, and Maggie Stables as your supporting cast.
No big guest roles. Maggie Stables.
Yeah, but I'm just saying there's no one from TV Doctor Who. That, there's no...
Well, suddenly the acting's really good, that's why.
And this is directed by Gary Russell again, with music by Harvey Summers. I think the novel of this one was really, really popular at the time. I feel like it was a standout new adventure on its own. So I don't know why they chose this one.
We need to talk about the novel because that Big Finish Bernice Summerfield book lays out the email exchange between Lance Parkin and Gary Russell, and it ain't pretty because they nearly didn't make this because Lance Parkin was fuming because he bought the rights for Just War and Big Finish were working with Virgin to get the rights for the stories. And this became a massive thing, like a big thing, to a point where Lance Parkin was almost like, well, I'm getting to a point where I don't want to do this. And Big Finish is saying, well, we're going to lose this and we really want to do this. It got a bit nasty. And in fact, of all the stories, this had the most troubling getting it from book to audio. it was worth the effort because this is one of the best Bernice Summerfield stories by a mile.
Absolutely. This is a definite classic of all the audios.
Do you know what this is, Mark? This is Big Finish, basically, I think, before it kind of sold out and the TV show came back and they suddenly had to do everything through Cardiff, you know. This is Big Finish doing proper, intense drama that is actually a little bit uncomfortable to listen to. It really makes you feel. It's experimental. I just think it's very good drama in its own right. Fuck Bernice, fuck Doctor Who. It's just a terrific story, brilliantly told.
And contrast that from Oh No It Isn't, and now you're at Just War. Complete opposite ends of the spectrum. There is not really any humour in this one. This is very dark and very serious. And it works as its own piece of drama. So Bernice has come through the time ring tunnel thing. She's ended up in Guernsey in the war. Separated. Jason is, I think he's 5 years behind or something. He's had to wait and live through some of the years leading up to the war.
Went to Guernsey and then realised the war was coming to Guernsey, so then he went to England to wait.
Yeah, and you go straight into this. She's been living there for a while. It's all already set up. So you go straight into the story. This one I have no problems following. It's dramatic. Like you're just on the edge of your seat the whole time. It's very like you feel,
isn't it? At times
you feel the danger straight away. Like I can't really describe it. You're just like, oh my god, she needs to get out of there. You want her to get out of there. She's going to get killed if she doesn't get out of there. You just feel it immediately.
The sequence where she has to shoot the guy that fancies her, that is unbelievably intense. But that's nothing compared to the scenes where she's in the prison cell and she's being tortured. Those scenes are, and Lisa Bauman plays those scenes for real.
Look at me! Look what he's done to my face!
I have not been given permission to treat those injuries.
That's not what I meant, just look at me!
There is no permanent damage. I am done here.
Please don't go!
I have finished.
Don't leave!
Before she's captured, she's on the island. She's trying to find the chronetoscopy thing, isn't she? That's what she's there for.
What?
The chronocrostatus, whatever. Chronetoscopes. She's trying to find that.
That's right. Yeah.
She's undercover. She's got a friend played by Maggie Stables, who she's living with.
Who wouldn't want Maggie Stables to be their mother? I mean,
oh my god! I mean, so they tried to get Wendy Pabry apparently to play that part.
I mean, Wendy Pabry would have been good. Maggie Stables.
Maggie Stables, and she will come back to Big Finish.
Oh boy,
later on. Oh my god! And you've got a few things. Someone's a jerry bag, or maybe not, or whatever.
God, that sequence where, and then that character tries to come onto the Nazi, and he snaps her neck.
I do not like spies or whores, Marie. Even those with pretty necks.
No! Marie! You sick bastard.
Stay where you are.
Yeah, there's the violence in this. And like you said before, this is before the Doctor Who licensed people were keeping an eye on stuff and making sure that this wasn't for kids. You know, the New Adventures wasn't for kids. This isn't for kids. This is for an adult audience.
I don't like whores or traitors, Marie. It's horrible.
Yeah, just say. And then Jason is working in the army elsewhere, keeping an eye out for Bernice. So there's all that. He's out of time. But his character is from 20th century Earth.
Yeah, but he gets some terrific character development in this as well. He talks about Nazism running through the 20th century and could potentially be a reason for why, because he talks about his abusive father. And how he was beaten when he was younger and things like that. Like, I really felt like in the other stories, he is just a bit of a rebel without a cause. In this, he just felt like a fully fledged, a real person with like depth, with flaws, but like a troubled past. I don't know. And I think it played to Stephen Buell's strengths as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you have Michael Wade and Mark Gatiss as the German officers that arrest them and torture Bernice, basically. And Mark Gatiss is the really horrible one that really puts her through the interrogation. and they shave her head and starve her, and she's in this prison for ages. And but Bernice, and then Lisa Bauman, like you say, oh my God, the performance of that when she's run down but she fights the nurse to get out, and she's got nothing to lose.
Shoves the nurse in the drawer, doesn't she?
Yeah, and it's not like, and it's suddenly it's very, very real, and this is what Doctor Who does as well on occasion. You've got your space. Oh no, it isn't fun, science-y techno-babble things, but then suddenly you have a story where this is reality. There's none of that science stuff. There's no gadgets to get her out of there. She is in prison. She will die from Nazi torture if she doesn't fight back and murder people back and get out of there.
For once, she thinks she is going to die there. And that's what makes this real. Like with a lot of the Bernice Summerfield stories, that you kind of feel like, oh, well, we know how this plays out, and she's going to be fine, and she's going to do some wisecracking and all that. In this one, she thinks all hope is lost, and Lisa Bauman plays it that way. And the sequence at the end of the first disc, where she just screams to the nurse, like, don't leave me alone, please. I mean, that's really intense.
Would you recommend this to someone that hasn't listened to any of the series before? Could you go straight into this and listen to this, or do you need to know a bit?
You want an example of what Big Finish can do? Listen to this. I wouldn't say, like, if you're looking for a good time, then listen to the torture and intensity of Just War. But I think this is the sort of thing Big Finish doesn't do anymore. Lisa Bauman cites Just War still as one of her favourite Bernice Summerfields. And you can see why, because she gets to stretch her acting muscles in a way that a lot of the other stories don't ask her to do.
That's why when I saw her, I got it signed by her, and she was like, oh, yes, this is the one. Yeah, when
it's interesting. She cites this one. She cites the Draconian Rage as one that she loved doing, because that's another one that's really intense, where she's tortured. And Timeless Passages, which is a much later one as well, which I think is just a very good script.
Yeah, you're not going to forget this if you've done this one. Obviously, it stands out. And Michael Wade as the German officer, Lockwood, one of the Auton crew that's come in.
They're all involved in this. Yeah.
They just acted so well. Yeah,
Michael Wade has to deliver a 5-minute monologue about like fascism and Nazism, and essentially promoting it. Now, not a lot of actors, would want to do that. He does it so charmingly. He's just, I think he's brilliant in this. If there was like an MVP of Just War, it's Michael Wade. If it was just Mark Gatiss' character, then that's fine, and he's brutal and he's horrible, but that's such an obvious route to go down. Whereas Michael Wade's character is very charming, and it's not like, oh well, suddenly we're all pro-Nazi, but he's a character you can they managed to put that point of view across without resorting to cliches of personality. I really like that,
because then his character, because there is that sort of time travel element where he starts to believe a little bit, I think, that Bernice is from the future.
He's reading the diary, isn't he, about the future at the end? That's the last scene where he's like, no, it's not true, and he's ripping out the pages.
Jason and Bernice eventually get back to the future, but she's completely like traumatized by it as well. It can't, it's not like, oh, we're home now, next adventure. It's, we're home. I need to just deal with what I've been through.
And I felt the relationship between Jason and Bernice felt most realistic when he kills the man that tortured her. Now, that's such an obvious route to go down, and it could have been really pat. Actually, it plays out really well.
You are weak. As weak as your woman who would not stop crying.
You shouldn't have told me that. No one makes Benny cry.
Jason! Jason, are you all right? I heard a
Jason.
Have you set the charge?
Yes.
Come on, let's go.
And then she can't even, like, she just goes, just hold me. She just collapses into his arms because she's so traumatized by everything that's happened and what she's been through. She's not even got a wisecrack,
And she mentions that Tamika has been looking after Wolsey for her all this time.
Wolsey might be dead by now then. I mean, I put good, it's dramatic, intense, The performances are universally good, a genuine sense of dread, and it makes you feel. It really makes you feel, this one. Bad, I said it just sort of fizzles out at the end, because I just sort of felt like it just sort of ended.
Yeah, but where do you go after all of that build-up? It builds up so intensely. And yeah, they get the plane and they go at the end. Yeah, it's a little bit just quick, isn't it? And because there was all this radar stuff, and there was like this weapon, or they were developing, or so. I don't know. I didn't really understand that, but you're not there for that.
In the book, there's way more about that and massive passages about that. But this is focusing more on the characters, isn't it?
So what does the Doctor do in the book?
He's not in it much, you know. He's not in it much. I think a lot of the Jason stuff is the Doctor, and I think he's the one that drops about radar. I can't remember. But you know what? That just shows you how effective this is that I can't remember the original, but I can remember this, you know.
Yeah. Okay, let's go into the last release that we're talking about today. So if you subscribed to Big Finish early on, which I don't think many people probably did, if you subscribe to the Time Ring trilogy here, you would have got a bonus CD called Buried Treasures.
Oh my God. It's a rarity now. This is a rare gem now.
Absolutely. I saw it on eBay for like £200 way back. So you get...
£200?
Like, I think it's very rare.
I know, I mean, it's good, but it ain't that good.
I know, yeah, I wouldn't pay that. So you get 2 original short stories here. So this is the first original stuff that's been written for Big Finish.
Yeah.
So a short story called Making Myths. So let's talk about that first. So it's just 2 actors in this, Lisa Bowerman and Sarah Moat. Actually, both of them are Lisa Bowerman and Sarah Moat. They're just little fun bonus things. They're nothing. There's not much to them. Well, hang on. Okay, the first
one of them is fun. One of them is...
Okay, all right. I'll take that back. All right, hold on. Okay, let's just talk about... So Making Myths is the silly extra one. So it's Bernice being interviewed about her new book that's coming out by this Packer character. So if you've listened to Bang Bang a Boom...
Fucking Packers. I mean, what is Big Finish's obsession with the bloody Packers?
So it's from Gary Russell's novel Legacy, New Adventures Legacy, the Packers.
There we go.
And they're little sort of they're a rodent species. So in Bang Bang a Boom, it's Jerry Packer, isn't it?
Yeah, but Jerry Packer sounds like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Why in this does it sound like a normal person?
Because they haven't developed that yet, have they? This is just the first thing. So she's been interviewed. It's a bit of a silly thing that I think they know each other already, and it's just a bit of a silly runaround. Nothing to it, really.
Do you know what was wrong with this?
What?
It weren't funny. It was supposed to be funny, and it weren't funny. Jason Hayellery directed this one, and they say in the Bernice book that this literally was recorded in someone's living room because they wouldn't, for the like a bonus feature, they wouldn't hire out the studios for that. So it was just Sarah Moat, Lisa Bowerman hanging out in someone's living room recording this thing,
and it shows.
It really shows. Well, I mean, I don't think the post-production is terrible or anything like that. Like, it sounds pretty good. But like, they keep having these scenes where they go, well, for the benefit of the people listening, and that joke keeps hitting again and again and again, and they keep getting more and more sort of bitchy with each other. But sort of the wit just ain't there. It's just not funny.
But it's supposed to be like a live broadcast that they're doing about this interview and all these things happen and everything. So yeah, but Lisa Bowerman stands out. She's great in it. She does her best.
She's good.
It's fine. It's okay. It's just that little bonus.
I'll always listen to her, no matter what.
Yeah. But then the main thing, then you have Closure, the second story. That's got a bit more of substance to it and a punch to it, and that's by Paul Cornell.
And Paul Cornell says that he wrote that when he was in a really dark place. He just split up with Jack Rayner. They actually say that the Bernice Summerfield range that they were both working on was like the baby, you know, like when you split up but you've still got something that keeps you together. And he turned up at the recording of Closure in a fucking foul mood, and apparently it was really bad day anyway, because the whole subject matter about genetic mutilation and, you know, war and things like this, it was pretty depressing as it was. But do you know what? That is a really tight piece of storytelling. Like,
it's a really nice short. It's basically Bernice goes back in time to visit. There's this mother and this baby in this war zone, and the concept is that would you go back and kill Hitler as a baby type story? That's what it is.
Which is obvious, but it's done very well here.
It's done so well, and it's done very serious. And Lisa Bauman again is amazing as Bernice. It's very serious, Bernice. There's not the comedy in this. It's a very philosophical debate between these two characters.
But she goes into all the detail of like the horrors that the baby would go on to perpetuate, and it's really detailed and it's horrible. There's the bit where she talks about someone being pumped full of viruses and then having all their blood drained off and like hung up like a piece of meat. It's like, it's really graphic. Again, it's that sort of Big Finish they just wouldn't do now.
And you get this on the CD of Death and the Daleks, a later release. They put it as a bonus on that. And Making Myths is out there on the internet. It was on the Big Finish podcast. So they are available. You don't have to pay 200 quid for a CD. And if you want to complete the set, they're worth tracking down and listening to.
I would say Making Myths is disposable. Closure is an essential. Like, listen to Closure. It's very good.
That is our batch that we're talking about this week. I've really enjoyed listening from the beginning through these. It's really... How would I rank them? In order of best.
Yeah.
Just War. Oh, No, It Isn't. Walking to Babylon. Birthright. Beyond the Sun. And then Buried Treasures, just because I'm not so bothered about it.
I would probably say Just War, Closure, Walking to Babylon, Oh No It Isn't, Birthright, Making Myths, and then finally, right at the bottom of the pile, Beyond the Sun.
We all knew that. We all knew it would be that.
Whatever.
Of course.
Whatever.
Well, let's see if there's any worse coming up for Beyond the Sun. We'll see, won't we?
Not much. I'm telling you that now.
Okay, let's go to our next section then, now that we've started. It's called
Yo Yo Hey Ho, it's Joe and Ducko Ho.
I'm going to keep that in. You're going to look back at your blog. So how long ago did you write the reviews for these ones? If you were starting your blog on Big Finish stuff, how many?
I was 28. So
many years ago.
14 years ago. A long time ago. I was younger and fitter in those days. I was a man behind my keyboard. Actually, no, I was a big old boy back then. I was 22 stone.
Wow.
Bashing away about Big Finish. I'm not happy about this. I was one of those terrible fans who took ownership of everything, you know.
Okay, let's see if your opinion has changed.
So I took a few quotes from each story. And do you know what? For this first season, right, I actually wrote a series of emails that me and Bernice were writing to each other that top and toed the reviews.
Oh my God.
So she'd be going, "Hi Joe, how's Simon?" who was my partner at the time, and I'd be going, "Oh, hi Bernice, how's Jason?"
Oh my God. How creative of you.
Thank you very much. But for Oh No It Isn't, I call Bernice beautiful, brave and brilliant. I would not disagree with that. I say it's one of Nicholas Courtney's best ever performances. Actually, you tell me whether you agree with these things or not.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's his best ever performance. The bit that stood out was when it was Wolsey as a humanoid or whatever it was, or Wolsey as Nicholas Courtney, remembering when he was just a cat and sort of that regression and the sort of pain in that. It was it was a good performance. He could have done it he could have just sent it up and been very silly, but there was emotion to it, even though he was a talking cat. So, yeah, I agree.
Okay, so you agree with Dr. Who. That's marvellous. I also say that Dame Candy should have had her own series.
Okay, I don't agree with that.
He moves divinely.
Just saying that you should have had your own series.
And I kind of sum it all up by saying, at the heart of this play is Lisa Bauman playing Bernice as we always imagined her to sound. Funny and sweet, commanding and flawed, entertaining and very easy on the ear.
Certainly. Yeah, I agree on that.
There you go. It looks like you and Doc Oho are in agreement.
Yeah.
So I move on to Beyond the Sun.
Oh, God, here we go.
So I write, the characterization of Bernice is the only good thing about this story. I'll still agree with that. I put a lot of the action is unpersuasive, i.e. the direction of the action. I thought, why are the tracks 15 minutes long? They are long tracks in there, aren't they? I'd forgotten that. On the CD, the tracks are like 15 minutes long. Yeah.
It doesn't. Well, then they went the other way, and they're like 2 or 3 minutes each now. It's even. I don't know. Just we're all in the download world now. That shows how long ago that was. You're on your CD player.
Right. I can't remember what was available for me at the time. Emil, I say he is a sniffly, unbearably cute stooge who is there primarily to remind us of his sexuality. Ouch. And to me, I say, let's pray that Tamika never returns, or if she does, let's make sure it's a tent pole for one of Bernice's expeditions.
Oh, so you haven't changed.
Bitch.
Yeah, you haven't changed your opinion. So,
well, I'm a little bit more, I'm a bit kinder. I didn't say that. So, how about Walking to Babylon? Should we see what Doc Oho's got to say about that?
Let's see what he was typing away.
A superb showcase for Bernice, written by one female writer who captures her voice beautifully, and adapted by another who wrote possibly the greatest novel she appeared in.
It's good. It's good. It's not right up there for me.
Okay, but then you like The Secret of Cassandra, so I'm not sure I'm putting much faith in your opinion right now. I put Gary Russell creates a place of wonder in Babylon.
Yeah.
And I love Joseph with every fibre of my being.
But it's not Joseph, though. You need to go back and tell him that you got fact check there.
Have you read that, Doc Oho? He can't get his facts right for nothing, I'm telling you.
Not good at the facts.
Okay, so for Birthright, I make a direct comparison between Jason and Susan Mayer in Desperate Housewives. That's the character played by Terry Hatcher.
Yeah, Susan Mayer.
I haven't written down the quote. Basically, just that they always mean well, but they always hash things up.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Is there anything Colin Baker can't do on audio? Is what I say.
Take his clothes off.
I put the second half is more sluggish than the first, but things pick up for the conclusion. I don't agree with that anymore. I do not agree with that anymore. And Just War. Okay. Brought to life by the impressive Bowerman, Bernice breaks your heart in this story. I put Michael Wade impresses as the acceptable side of fascism.
Well, yes. Yeah, okay. The acceptable side of fascism. What the hell?
I think this is true. I still think this is true as well. It never lets you forget where we are and what it means to be there. Yeah. But unfortunately, I did not write any reviews for Closure or for Making Myths.
So you didn't get that at the time? You wouldn't have got...
I wasn't a subscriber. Obviously, I think I just bought them one at a time.
Yeah.
There we go. I think Doc Oho had some nice things to say this time now.
So your opinions haven't actually changed drastically, really?
Not really, no. Although I've got a feeling with some of those early Doctor Who's, Doc Oho and I are going to have a few words.
Yeah. I think these stand up. These are classics for Big Finish, this first series of Bernice. Okay, and everyone's shouting out, I know Dragon's Wrath is in the first series, but we're doing that next time. Okay.
Wrath is awful. Thank God we're not including it.
You say, what do you say? I say, what? Dragon's Wrath. Wrath. Oh, Dragon's Wrath. I'm going to go, this is Dragon's Wrath on the balcony.
Don't blame me for the upper middle background.
Dragon's Wrath. That's what I say.
Actually, no, I'm sorry. I had the lowest of the low backgrounds. I'm telling you that.
Okay, so I'm going to now do, this is fairly easy. So it's going to be more complicated with the Doctor Who stuff, but it's really easy for the Bernice stuff. So I'm going to do a bit of a chronology moment where, okay, you don't care about this kind of stuff.
I care about you.
I do.
I care about you.
But I think there are a lot of other people out there that care about this kind of thing.
Oh boy! Let me tell you. Can I just tell you something now before we go into this? I know I'll interrupt you a lot. I'm so sorry. Right, when I used to go onto Gallifrey Base, right, and then we're talking about novels and Big Finish, no one wanted to talk about the story. Everyone was fucking obsessed about where it fitted into the canon. Everyone. They were like, well, this don't make sense because they mentioned this character's name and that character's name, so it can't slot in there. So there is absolutely a market for this, I'm telling you.
What I like to do is, where does it fit in? So if you were going to do the ultimate amazing marathon of all TV and the audios, where would it all fit in and where would it go? So I want to do this with the Doctor Who's and the worlds of Doctor Who, of which Bernice is a part. But I don't include personally, the novels or the books or any of those things. I have certain rules. Everyone has their own rules for what fits and what doesn't. I'm going by my rules. Hey?
What do you include then? TV
Just
and
the TV and audios. Yeah.
Well, it's very restrictive, I've got to say.
But it's all your own thing. It's you make whatever you want. If you want to put the novels in, put the novels in. I personally don't. I do TV and audio dramatizations or first-person readings. If it's someone reading a book in the third person, that doesn't count, okay? That's just the way I do it. Don't look at me like that. Don't give me that look, okay?
List of these rules in before we start this thing.
They are, yeah. I've got them here. This is how it's going. Anyway, so let's go and have a look at the first series of Bernice here. So it's fairly straightforward at the moment because we've got no other sort of Doctor Who to fit it in. So we're just going after survival between the 7th and the 8th Doctor, we have Bernice, okay? And they're going in release order. So Oh No It Isn't follows to Beyond the Sun, Walk into Babylon, Birthright and Just War are your trilogy, you're linked. So the only thing that I'm finding a place for now are these two short stories of Making Myths and Closure. So Making Myths, I'm going to put in between Beyond the Sun and Walking to Babylon. So in Making Myths, I think it does mention that Bernice is still at St. Oscar's, which she is at all of these stories in the first series. I've put it in there to break up Jason's appearances between Beyond the Sun and Walking to Babylon, because at the beginning of Walking to Babylon, Bernice says, where have you been? I haven't seen you since that stuff on, with the Sunless or, and that. So it's a nice little bit just to fill out that space in between there. So that's where that one's going. Closure, again, references Bernice at St. Oscar's, so it is early on here. I'm going to put it directly at the end after Just War, because she mentions she uses the time rings to get back in time, and she does say that her friend who has the other time ring, she doesn't usually have the time rings together, and her friend agreed this would be a good use of them. So you've got all that trauma that she's been through in Just War. My justification is that she's still remembering that, and that she has that. She has that on her mind. And can she do something linked to it? Can she do? And I feel like she's talked to Jason about it, and he's like, yeah. And he's obviously been through that as well. So she's got permission from him to use the time rings to go back. It's a little time after Just War, but I think it's a nice little coda, I think, for following on from Just War. So that's why I've put it there.
But she does say in Closure that she's seen that future that child creates. So there has to be that adventure in between Just War and Closure, because she has to have seen those horrors to have wanted to come back and sort them out.
Yeah, but that could have already happened before Just War, because that could have been played back before.
Inserting another adventure in between the adventures you're inserting in.
Well, a long period of time has happened between Just War and Closure. I'm not saying it's directly, but I don't think we're fitting anything else. That's why I'm just putting it for the moment. Things might change. As we go along, things are going to shuffle around. But that is really
a fabulous little kind of map in front of me right now.
Yeah, I'll map it out as we go along. So that's where I'm putting this batch. And that's why Closure is just at the end there. Yeah, there might be some other stuff in between, but we'll see. But I wouldn't put Closure earlier on, because you can't put it earlier on before the Time Ring trilogy, really, because I don't think that would make sense. So that's where it's going just at the end for now.
You might have to wipe them all out once we get into Series 2 of Bernice, because Gary Russell says that the Bernice Summerfield range starts with Series 2 and not the adaptations.
Well, I'm not doing any of the books or anything, so it doesn't matter about that. This is the St. Oscar's University period of her life, and that's where it is. I think it's a great first series.
This is your chronology, right?
This is mine, yes. And if you want to follow it, great, but you don't have to. but I'm right.
We're all getting very hard listening to your reasons. So thank you very much.
So there we go. That's all. It's going to get more complicated as we go along. That's a pretty easy start.
It's going to be fucking complicated in the second one when you got the Sirens of Time with 3 doctors in it.
I've got that. That's easy. It's gonna. The more we go through, the more difficult we're gonna find. But there you go.
What's marvellous about this section is this is where I have to shut up and let you talk.
You don't care where the hell the things fit. Right. Well, we've just got our quiz to do now. Oral audacity.
I have no comment. So,
right.
We basically challenged each other to do a single question for each story.
Oh, have we?
Well, what have you done?
I've just done 5 questions. It's not one for each story necessarily.
One for each story?
You ask me and then I'll ask you. Let's do that and just see how it goes.
Okay, so in Oh No It Isn't, what does Bernice thank her lucky stars that she doesn't owe all of her luck to? Oh, come on.
She doesn't owe all her luck to
my
pussy. Of course.
What else would I choose?
Yeah, of course. What other big Finnish story do we hear a packer, or does a packer appear in? I've got a few.
Bang Bang a Boom?
Yes. Yeah, I did mention that earlier. There's also in the Venus Mantrap as well, and in the first episode of the Vienna series. 1-1.
So, in Beyond the Sun, what are the sunless?
What do you mean, what are the sunless?
What are the sunless?
What kind of definition? What do you want? What do you like?
What are they? They keep mentioning them all the time, the sunless.
What are they? Well, they're beings from another world. They've got scales, and one of them looks beautiful. What do you want me to? No, that's not the sunless, is it? That's the that's the baddies, isn't it? Oh,
I don't know. I couldn't figure out what they were, so I was hoping you were going to tell me.
Well, there you go. Okay, I want a point for that because I described that perfectly.
Oh, well done. Okay.
Who wrote the textbook on theatrical forms of 20th century England in Oh No It Isn't?
Oh my God, what sort of question is that? Professor Stein.
Professor Archduke was the person that wrote.
Oh, well, I've learned.
Yesterday. I thought you would have got that.
I'm so sorry. I'm really.
Okay, 2-1.
Okay, in Birthright, what is the nickname of Lil Nuttall, the famous prosy?
Limehouse Lily.
It's not.
Oh, what?
It's Lancashire Lil.
Oh, fuck! No.
Limehouse Lily.
No, that's what I was calling her earlier, I swear.
You were. I didn't want to correct you because I knew the question was coming up at the end.
Oh, you bastard. Oh, my God. Limehouse. I think Limehouse Lily sounds better.
Lancashire Lily. Yeah.
I'm going to call you Limehouse Lily from now on.
Go on. What's your next question?
All right, then. Okay, Limehouse. Right. In Birthright, what year is Bernice trapped in London?
God. 1893?
You should know, Limehouse Lily. You're from it. It's from 1909, apparently. 1909.
Oh, dear me, I'm not getting many of these right, am I? In Walking to Babylon, what is the full name of the 2 people that go to Babylon?
Oh, fucking hell. Okay, Wurzuk 2.
Wurzuk 2, yes.
Wurzuk 2 and like Kiki D or something. Tiki D. I don't know. I don't know the other one. Wurzuk 2 is one.
Kazitzel.
Oh, Kazitziel, yes.
Wurgagzu and Kazitzel.
Oh, What is that? Hang on. You've just reminded me of a note I made on one of the other ones. Who does she call? That was one of my favourite points. Who does she call Itty Bitty Duck in Walking to Babylon? She calls that Itty Bitty Duck. That was a favourite point.
You're racist.
Itty Bitty Duck. That's not racist.
What's your next question?
Okay, in Birthright again. What film does Jason mention that he's seen?
Casablanca?
No. Alien.
Oh, God damn it. I'm terrible at this. I need to up my game. Okay, in Just War, what name does Jason drop that nearly changes history?
The guy that invented the radar.
So what name?
But I don't know what his name is. He just goes beep, beep, doesn't he?
No, I don't think you quite understand the question.
Yeah, okay, I don't know his name, but I know it's the man who invented radar, so...
Radar is the answer. The name that he drops is radar.
Oh, I thought you meant the man that invented radar. Oh, so I got that right. Yes. For a moment there, I thought the guy that invented radar, is his name Radar?
No. He says radar, and then from that...
Yeah.
He creates like a sonar device. Okay, what's your last question?
Oh, last question. Okay. In which book does Jason first appear?
Death and Diplomacy.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, I do have quite a few Jason questions there.
You're obsessed, you are. Honestly, when we get to Hex, I'm going to be hard the whole time, I'm telling you.
Oh, dang, what are the scores? So you got 2, and I got 3.
Yeah, you did. God damn it.
So that is 1 point for me on the leaderboard.
Mark, where are we heading next time? We are heading away from Bernice Summerfield.
Well, yes, so we're into sort of late 1999 with the releases, which means Doctor Who is on its way. So the first 5 Doctor Who releases will be next time.
And can you name them, please, quickly?
Oh, so Signs of Time, Phantasmagoria, Whispers of Terror, Land of the Dead, and The Fearmonger.
I'm going to do a small spoiler now and just say 3 of those stories I like very much.
I'm going to say 5 of those stories I'm not too keen on.
The Mark I'm used to talking to, the one who's not very impressed by anything.
No, I think the Doctor Who's just take a bit to get going, that's all. So those first 5 aren't always the best.
Right. You like The Secret of Cassandra, so you know.
About The Secret of bloody Cassandra. Okay.
But we are thrilled, and I've had a good time doing this.
Good discussion, and Lisa Bauman's ears have been burning all morning.
Lisa Bauman, if you want to listen to an hour and a half of 2 people telling you about how amazing you are, stick this on.
Oh, she's wonderful. She is amazing. Oh my God.
This is literally the start of our journey.
It is, yeah, and it's a great start as well. A great set of stories. No, nothing terrible. I mean, okay, you don't like Beyond the Sun, but
Beyond the Sun is terrible.
There's worse. There is worse out there. So
very much worse. Only Topsy Turvey from Heart's Desire.
Okay, right. Okay. Right, well, we'll see you all next time. Thanks for watching, everyone. And if you want to listen to these adventures, they're obviously available from Big Finish.
So we'll see you next time.
Yep, see you next time. Bye.